Let's talk about May's indie releases, and oh boy, there are a lot of them. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the indie releases for May. I apologize, this video is a little bit rushed. I've got my in-laws coming, we need to leave in like an hour, and there are signs of life happening. We've got people in the shower, the robot vacuum is going, but we are just going to do what we can do because these books deserve to be on a video platform showcasing the indie that we have coming out in the month of May 2025. As always, these lists do not come from me, they come from AJ Calvin over on her blog and also Rob J. Hayes over on his. I'll have those linked down below as always. Now, we do have quite a long list to get through and some really exciting books coming our way, so we're just going to jump right in with May 1st. First on the list is Crown of Roses. This is by Niranjan K, who is no stranger to these lists, with Shades of Spring Book 1, which is epic fantasy, urban fantasy, and sword and sorcery. Can their love survive a war and the enmity, I cannot read that word ever, between their people? Layman is the son of Halvard Chief and Sylvania, the Queen of Kalern. The Halvard and the Kalern have never seen eye to eye. The magic that's in the Kalern's very blood is considered evil by Halvard, who are naturally resistant to magic and spells. But their differences don't keep Layman and Sylvania, I'm gonna say that, from falling in love. When Layman's father declares war on them, Kalern and all attempts of peace fail. Layman has to choose whether to stand with his people or the woman he loves. Sylvania is also struggling with the political ploys of a powerful noble while fighting a war. With the war adding to the pressures of their positions, putting the lives of their people at stake, can Layman and Sylvania choose their love, or will they have to surrender to the exigencies? I need to look that word up, of their situation. Also on May 1st, and a pretty early cover pick for me, is Beyond the Mistline by Lincoln Law. This is a beautiful cover in the epic fantasy realm. The path to vengeance is paved with metal. The valley is ringed by mountains and brimming with deadly mist. Liners, like Cater, make a living scavenging magical metals which grow on the forest floor. These metals have various uses: light, heat, weaving new fabrics, and forging new wires for the ancient zip lines which they use to traverse the valley. All of this is done under the watchful eyes of the Kralls, the family which rules the valley with an iron fist. Cater likes the Kralls and their system of governance, which elevates her position greatly. When the Kralls are overthrown and murdered in a liner revolution, Cater's entire world is thrown into disarray. Betrayed by her friends believed dead, Cater goes into hiding below the mists with the help of the mysterious mistfolk. However, as Cater begins to exact her revenge against those who betrayed her, she begins to realize that her life as a liner may not have been as straightforward as she once believed, and the secrets long buried below the mists may need to emerge. The revolution has begun, and you're on the wrong side. That sounds great, and I need to look up that cover art because it is just gorgeous. Also on the 1st of May, we have The Queen of the Road. This is The Storm Who Rides Book 2 by Kris Talbane, and it's grimdark/weird versus cool cover as well. This is a book number 2. It looks quite post-apocalyptic. The road there is broken. I'm digging it, but we do need to move on. On May 1st, which is the same date as the last few that I've said, we have one that I got the pleasure to beta read, and I had a really cool time with it. This is The Island of the Dying Goddess by Ronit J. This is grimdark/horror, and the horror elements in this, let me tell you, are very wild. On the island of eternal grief, even the gods have died 1,000 deaths. My name is Anwar, and I am an immortal explorer. A few days ago, I was stranded on an island where everything looks twisted and the air smells of morning. The atmosphere has forced suppressed memories to resurface. I have consciously kept them at bay, or I won't be able to survive the island's horrors. There's Gaff, the mad, warmongering god who mutilates his enemies and patches their dismembered limbs. Then there's Nadra, the goddess who can enslave entire kingdoms with just her thoughts. But the worst is the nameless goddess, who created Sarah a millennium ago, caging it in a barrier that reverses time, forcing the island to relive the same year over and over. Sarah is a nightmare come alive. Here, existence itself is a curse. The island is the living are barely alive, the stranded condemned. I need to escape this island, and in doing so, free Sarah from its perpetual punishment. And the only way to do that is to kill the goddess. This was This was intense, but a really good read if you enjoy your horror elements in your fantasy. We also have The Shadow of the Elders by Will Elm, available on the same day, the 1st of May. And this is dark fantasy slash epic fantasy. A plant grows from a single seed. The same is true for power. When a drought strikes the continent of Bus, family and friends are ripped apart, ancient grudges are revived, and a strange magic is sought that threatens to plunge the world further into chaos. Savik, a new father, works on an estate shaping stones for the foreman. After an ill-fated theft, his life begins to unravel, and not even the vague prophecies of mystics can stop it. Cast out from his home without friend or family, Savik will be forced to discover why an old enemy would come to his rescue. Friends Vatan and Aju walk the dying world until a mysterious group of raiders separates them. Vatan is abducted and forced into the life of a prisoner. Taken to a distant land, he must rely on new friends to help him escape, but alliances are never quite what they seem. From the moment Vatan is taken, Ajou vows never to give up searching for him. She must journey to the great city of Nouveau, the place of her birth, in hopes of discovering a clue to his whereabouts. Little does she know, her return to the city has been expected by a powerful force, one that promises to reunite her with Vatan, and so much more. On the 2nd of May, we have A Ballad of Vengeance by Karim Soliman. This is epic fantasy and sword and sorcery, and I believe this came from a short story or was inspired to be extended from a short story that was in the Advent of Winter. A family that sticks together kills titans together. After decades of self-exile in the Northlands, Aquen decides to return to his homeland, not only to settle an old score with a Kemetean titan, but also to end a threat to his family once and for all. Knowing that he is not the same warrior he used to be, Aquen is fully aware that this might be his final fight ever. Berna, the sorceress who believes that her husband is marching to his own demise, heads far north alongside her children to seek help for their father, but her quest might provoke the titans of the Nordlands, and the last thing Berna and her family need right now is the enmity, of more titans. As the odds don't look good for the mortal couple, Aquen and his family will have to overcome fear and doubt with fury and valor. No matter the outcome of the upcoming clash, the folks in Clement and the Nordlands will forever sing of their heroics. They will forever sing the Ballad of Vengeance. That sounds that sounds cool. I quite like the story in Advent of Winter. I can speak. On the 4th of May, we have the Discovery by Louise McClellan. So sorry. This is in the urban fantasy. I love the purple here. This is a beautiful, beautiful purple. It says the gods, witches, and politicians all enjoy the daily tug of war for control in a world of constant scheming and maneuvering until their peaceful world of ruining each other's day was truly disrupted. Don't you hate when that happens? What if it was all just a distraction, keeping everyone busy until they came back home again? At the urging of her beloved grandmother, Cassie takes an apparently safe and humdrum job in a government office in Glasgow. However, it turns out the conspiracy theorists are right. There's more to the civil service than box ticking and inscrutable acronyms. When Cassie is drawn into a plot involving alien invaders, unscrupulous billionaires, and the highest level of government, she discovers that living in her home city are a group of semi-retired gods, witches, and supernatural beings hidden in plain sight. As Cassie's true power becomes apparent, she becomes a vital ally against the forces that want to rid the world of gods and humans alike. They only have 10 days to save the human race and themselves. That sounds like a bit of fun. Also on the 4th of May, we have some more stories by Shadows and Sorcery by Sean Hill. I've spoken about this one before. I believe this is flash fiction. So it's the description says it's a nearly 700 story archive of standalone chronicles, glimpses, and portraits of magic, mystery, and horror, and high adventure in far off realms. So we've got another one of those coming out on the 4th of May. We have First Degree Magic by J. M. Linkhart, available on May 6th, and this is urban fantasy as well. Bernice Chandler is a woman with a sword and a lot of problems it won't fix. She's got a ritual murder case on her hands and an angel appearing in her dreams again, a sure sign of disaster just around the corner. To make matters worse, a ghost from her past has returned to haunt her, threatening the peace and stability she's carefully built for herself in Chicago. To banish it, she strikes a devil's bargain with a bootlegging gangster, who's only too happy to oblige her for a price. Valtino Morandi is a demi-demon with a curse he can't wait to slip. For 8 years, he's been bound to the city by the order of Joan, and that's about to end. He only needs one more item to free himself, and when a Knight of Order comes around needing a favour, he can't wait to make her an offer. But Bernie isn't the only one whose ghosts have come back calling. Jack Donovan, a detective with a history he wants to keep buried in the trenches of Europe, one slip and secrets like his have a tendency of getting out, and a secret freed is a secret hard to control. He's hoping that his new partner Chandler can keep one, and maybe even help him with designs of his own beyond the immediate case. Makes more sense. But they must catch a killer first and survive. Secrets, lies, and magic bind the three together as they race to solve a series of tarot-style murders. That sounds fun. If they fail, the killer could summon forth an evil of the highest degree, upsetting the balance between the infernal and divine, and leaving Chicago burning in hellfire. I can read, I promise. We also have Ironclast, or The Death and Resurrection of Lazarus Keaton by Dave Walsh, available on May the 6th. And we've got a very cyberpunk techno-thriller background here, which is exactly the subgenres that this one falls into. A wealthy look to the stars, leaving the suckers back on Earth paying rent on digital afterlife packages. Lazarus Keaton was his family's great disappointment. Instead of marrying a nice girl and taking over the family business, he's a sexually confused claims adjuster for a company that uploads your consciousness into a digital afterlife. That sounds cool. Sent across the globe to oversee the site of a deadly train crash, he's stopped dead in his tracks by the unlikely afterlife package a hairdresser had, sainthood. His questions go unanswered when the Vatican dispatches a menacing inquisitor to take over. In exchange for his silence about the odd case, his bosses offer him a raise, but he's in too deep to stop. Alongside Sylvia, a local detective, they're thrust into the throngs of a wild conspiracy centered on the world's richest man, with all roads leading them off-world to his luxurious space station. After Laz's company declares him dead, there's no turning back. He either uncovers the truth or meets with a grisly end at the hands of the Inquisitor. That sounds pretty sick. We also have Journey to the Dark Tower by Mallory, available on the 6th of May. This is Morgan and Merlin's Excellent Adventures book number 2, and whatever's happening here looks quite fascinating. This is cultivation fantasy, and it says nothing ruins your day like a quest with a ransom note. I imagine that is correct. We also have The Squared Circle by William Makel, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, on May the 6th. This is Pass of the Signals and Totems Mythos, and this is time travel horror. Interesting combination, time travel horror. An experiment in a Victorian laboratory goes horribly wrong, and now Davy Bailey and Joe Flynn have lost track of time, or rather, time has lost track of them. They are adrift in a post-apocalyptic Scottish future that keeps getting even farther away from where they're trying to get to. The scientist, Wilkins, the cause of their woes, might be able to help, but he is held hostage by a mad goblin in an impossible place, with puzzles to solve and no time in which to do it. Is the fate of space and time in the balance? Do the goblins' ramblings have a hint of sense? Bailey and Flynn's future depends on the answers to these questions. Interesting, sounds like a bit of a fun time. We also have the Blades of Old Kingdoms, the Ragnarok Prophecy, book number 6 by Matt Larkin. This is epic fantasy, historical fantasy with a flair of horror. I can't go too much into this one, but the cover looks like this, and it's very, very cool. On the 9th of May, we have the Binding Tenets Trilogy, book number 3. This is by G.J. Terrell, and this is Sword and Sorcery. I can't go too much into it. Cover looks like this, and it says, "No less blood is shed when bonds become broken." On the 13th of May, we have Atacama by Jandia Gammon. I apologize if I butchered any and all of that. And this is thriller, science fiction, and academia, which is a cool combination here. I also like the mosaic or the shape in the background here with the colors. It's very poppy. And it says, a missing research team is found dead in Atacama Desert under mysterious circumstances. Far away in eastern Tennessee, Alpatian researcher Fiona Hawthorne reels from the death of her best friend, Alva, among the Atacama team. When Fiona's university professor, Dr. Bingham, is visited by members of a shadowy corporation, she begins to suspect not everything is as it seems. Enlisting her intense co-worker, Leif Lambert, the two dig deep looking for answers in Alva's death. Too deep. Fiona soon realizes that she not only faces sinister corporate agents, but also a monster hiding in plain sight. Interesting. Also on the 13th of May, we have Empire Ender. This is by Abby Goldsmith, and this is a really cool cover as well. I like the black hole, purples, blues, and pinks, just awesome. Here, and this is Torth book number 6. It is grimdark, sci-fantasy, and progression/cultivation. This is one of those covers which makes me go, I wonder what book 1 looks like, and what does it sound like. But it is a book 6, so we will need to move on from there. We can, however, talk about the Wingswept Sky by Elvin Grimold Stone. And this is Dragons of Amantia, book number 1, and it is cozy fantasy. Kaylee Espinosa wanted nothing so much as to be a courier. Oh man, I work with couriers a lot. Running messages through the streets of her home, tracing her maps with her own 2 feet. But on her first day, her hopes are dashed when the Courier Guild's newest transport dragon chooses her to be his rider. This sounds cute already. Only Zapros isn't the usual transport dragon. He's a war dancer, bred for combat and transferred into the guild after losing his last rider. Now Kaylee must figure out what it means to be a courier and a dragon rider. When a training master takes a particular dislike to both Kaylee and Zapros, she takes matters into her own hands to be the best courier the guild has ever seen. Facing dangerous flocks of dragons and lightning-filled storms, being a courier is more perilous than she thought. With new friends and a dragon at her side, Kaylee takes to the skies in the Great Race, the guild's most anticipated competition, and she intends to win. That sounds like fun. On the 14th of May, we have The Last Cry of Innocence. This is the Fates of Attend Book 2 by N.A. Betts, and it looks like this. I'm quite curious as to what's going on here in this cover, but it is a Book 2. I'll just read the first line here, and it says, the debt of failure is paid in blood or madness. Interesting. Also on the 14th of May, we have Lazarus Home from the War by E.H. Lupton. And this is a cute cover as well. I'm quite curious at like the hand-drawn style here. This is Wisconsin Gothic book number 4, and it is queer historical romance and urban fantasy. That tracks. It looks like it's got mail in it, which is probably why I was like, I'm interested in that. It's good to be home, and that's all I can give you on that one. On the 15th of May, we have Ambushed by Natasha O'Connor. This is fantasy horror, and it just sits in the dark fantasy realm here. This damaged wings mean she has no choice but to run through Otterway's forest, clutching secrets she stole from her enemy, except there's a creature chasing her, ready to tear her to shreds. When she's caught unawares in a moment of distraction, her captor hits her with a shocking truth, or shocking truths. He demands information. Information should rather die than give up. But it seems hopeless. She's too weak from her injuries, some inflicted by a monster that shouldn't exist. If she fails to deliver her secrets, it will seal her kind's downfall, but time is running out. Also on the 15th of May, we have Riyati Rivals by Kai Zeal, available on the 15th of May. Sorry, I just said that. This is Riyati, book number 2, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. This is contemporary low/dark fantasy. It says, what would you sacrifice to alter an already guaranteed future? Good question. What would you sacrifice? Let me know. We also have Flames That Bind Us. This is the Tales of Aram, book 0. So maybe a prequel, I think it's a prequel novella from memory by Noah Isaacs, and this is Grimdark, Sword and Sorcery. Dreams shape both the future and the past. This is the story of Aram's first, the story of a fire that bound him to an eternity of torment. To Aram, his life consisted of foraging in the woods around his village, passing the time beneath a towering pines and bounding over moss-laden ground underfoot. Well, not anymore. For Aram is visited in the night by a strange premonition, warning him of a fire so great it will burn his entire village to the ground and everyone along with it. The only problem, who is going to believe a 9-year-old boy who spends most of his time in the deep forest than with kids his own age, and his work? His work is cut out for him. Aram fights to prevent the fires from consuming all that he knows and loves, but time is not on his side. Nobody else is, for that matter. What is a dream, if not a sign of what is yet to come? On the 20th of May, we have a third installment of a series that I really need to get back to. This is The Dark Element by Brian Wilson. This is Power of the Stars, Book 3. I really enjoyed Book 1. I do need to get back to this one. And this is sci-fantasy. Pain will become a known brother, grief a sister, hatred will guide the stars like an overbearing parent, and death will be the child that spawned from it all. On the 22nd of May, we have Darsimeon Gone by Kieran Weisenberg, and this is cozy fantasy. And quite intriguing cover here. It says, catnapped. When a beloved class pet goes missing, student sleuth Isa Ravenmont is on the case. The only problem, the prime suspect in this matter are her own classmates. Across a series of interviews, Isra attempts to piece the puzzle together. Though even as clues come to light, questions loom. Who is telling the truth? Who is lying? At an arcane school like Avonwood Academy, is anything truly as it seems? Only time will tell. Though with a cat's life hanging in the balance, time is one thing Isra hasn't got. Will her detective skills be enough to unravel the mystery, or will Darsimeon stay gone? That sounds cute too. Had some cozy fantasy in this one. On the 25th of May, we have Perils of the Past by Kane Williams. I've done a cover reveal for this one. It sounds really cool. This is epic fantasy and sword and sorcery. And this says the past lies ahead. Bloodied knuckles, sword cuts, aching limbs. With each day of training in a mountain temple, Artana draws closer to the power she'll need if an assassin strikes once more. Never again will she be helpless. When magic ravages the temple, the lives of her friends and the future of the congregation hang by a thread. A rare cure for their grave condition offers hope, and so Atana braves a return to the city she fled as a child. The journey ahead is fraught with thieves, traitors, and tyrants who covet the cure. Lies are as thick as flies in a desperate race against time. Her past may hold vital clues or offer only deeper peril. This one looks really cool. I quite like the cover of this one as well, with the ice cave, like the stalagmites, whatever they're called, coming from the top there. It's like, don't walk in there, because if they drop, that's going to be not fun for you. On the 26th of May, we have Butcher's Folly. This is by Nick Snape. This is the Wrecking Squad book number 2. I think we had the first book not that long ago, and it had a cool cover as well. This is a space opera / space adventure. A court conspiracy, a decrepit gang-laden space station, and the Bustan Navy on the way. Bustan? What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? On the 27th of May, we have Cold Silver for Souls. This is Shade Silver Book 1 by none other than Tori Tekken, and this is Weird West. Really cool cover here as well. One of my favorite cover artists on the scene at the moment did this one, so I'm very much looking forward to both the author and the cover artist. A couple of my favorites, so I'm in. I'm so in. Bounty Hunter, Necromancer, Outcast. She goes on the hunt when the law doesn't want to get its hands dirty. Already, yes. Born and bred in the harsh northern winters, Hunter collects bounties on thieves and murderers for a handful of coin, dragging Rip, her animated corpse, behind her. Trust wears thin in the wild territories, and the law doesn't always land on the side of justice, or on the side of a necromancer. Shadowed by the influence of a wealthy Shadesilver baron, Hunter takes one last job, but instead of an easy payday, Hunter finds something she never expected, something that will tear open old wounds and set her on a path to find justice for someone else. Also on the 27th of May, we have Ravager. This is Darkblade Book 10 by Andy Peliquin. There is just no stopping this author when it comes to big, chunky assassin books, particularly in this series. Cover is here. It looks very cool. There's a lot of color happening here, which I like very much. The hunter pits his blades and wits against an army of professional killers for hire. The bastards never stood a chance. We also have Where Nightmares Walk by Phineas Delgado on the 27th of May, and this is urban fantasy. This is Lucifer's Halo book number 1. A group of friends try to save one of their own from being used by sinister forces from their past. While on the run, they find out that this is all part of a larger scheme by a psychotic madman who could rewrite all of creation in his image. Meanwhile, they are hounded by a cyborg assassin driven by a warped sense of justice. Also, hate when that happens. Led by a grumpy old professor and his grumpier old dog, love that, the group looks for the lost journal of a long-dead seer who foresaw everything and whose prediction holds the key to stopping the destruction of all that is. They just have to survive long enough to find it. Curious. On the 28th of May, we have Loyalty to the Max by Maya Dajani, and this is the Broken Union book number 2. Max Dupont, stars in his own standalone adventure in the second installment of the Broken Union series, taking place 1 year after Ancient as the Stars. It says standalone. It also says book 2. Okay, it says book 2 but can work as standalone. We'll read it. Captain Maxime Dupont of the Earth Union is a rogue, a maverick, a clear-headed arbitrator of right and wrong, rules be damned. But even Max stumbles when he encounters his latest challenge. The Union is collaborating with former enemy Mars to fix the collapse of interstellar travel, but at the cost of vulnerable citizens. Max has to figure out where his loyalties lie and if treason is a price he's willing to pay for doing the right thing. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Yilmaz has finally found a crew, a home, a rewarding career on the ESS Knight. But Ren gets drawn into a web of espionage. Her captain Max has shady dealings with an anti-union rebel groups and assigns her shipmates off-the-books tasks. It's Ren's duty as an officer to investigate, but snooping can be disastrous. Not only would she be betraying her newfound family, but Ren has secrets too, and if she digs too far, her own past as a spy could get spectacularly exposed. As tensions mount, the choices Max and Ren make will test their loyalty not only to the Union, but to each other and the crew that they call family. On the 29th of May, we have The Pawns of Havoc by Dave Lawson. And this is an Envy of Chaos novella. This is part of a series, so I don't really want to read it and get too spoilery, but I will just say it says no mercy, no questions asked. It doesn't give me an indication of whether this is a standalone within the world, so we'll leave it at that. But I will put the cover up here. It looks very cool. Looks very cold in the icy mountain. On the 31st of May, we have Clipped by K.Q. Watson. Says heaven was perfect until they came for his son. This is science fiction / dystopian. When angel engineer Zack's infant son is cast down for being born without wings, he faces heaven's cruel mandate: forget or fall. Clipped, Zack plummets to a broken earth where false prophets exploit the faithful, drug lords rule dead cities, and every truth comes with a price. Pursued by ruthless angel hunters through decaying urban wastelands and corrupted megachurches, Zack uncovers a conspiracy that reaches from Earth's grimmest gutters to heaven's highest chambers. What begins as a father's desperate search becomes a brutal quest for vengeance that will expose heaven's most devastating lies and make them remember his son's name. That sounds really cool. And to finish us off with another beautiful cover, it's quite stunning, this purple, because I believe there's a dragon going through the stars. It's very pretty. Is Eltaris by Marina Gabriella. This is coming to us at the end of the month. And this is epic fantasy. It says, ripped from her life on Earth in the dark of night, 20-year-old Amaya Eltanen finds herself entangled with a mysterious mission to restore Eltaris. I'm so sorry, butchered all of that. A red planet where light shines from its core and magic is real. Afarel, the god of night, elected himself as her mentor, but his true motives remained shrouded, leaving Amaya to question why she, of all people, was chosen for the task. In search of the truth, Eltaris becomes a land of discovery, where Amaya must navigate deceit, genuine friendship, and a destiny greater than she could have dreamed. Strange visions reveal clues to Amaya's past, and deities and demigods become her friends. But a sinister darkness threatens all life on Earth. Amaya can feel it. She is determined to save them, if it is the last thing she does. Come, fellow adventurer, the dragons are calling. That sounds really cool too. Alright, those are the indie books releasing May of 2025. Are there any of these that you're excited for? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.